All right, guys, we are live with Mr. the man, the myth, the legend, one of my really good friends who I don't get to talk to enough, but am so excited that he's here with us today, Mr. Justin Piche. Justin, how are you today, my friend?
Hey, Ajay, I'm doing great. You hear me all right? Audio good?
Our live looks a little funky. Chris, can you refresh that window? See if, yeah. Sweet. Okay.
How's the audio? You got me?
Sweet, man. Well, hey, I'm so excited to have you on. We've oh, look at those guitars in the background.
Let's do a quick audio check.
That was our end. That was our end. I think we're good now. You good?
Can you hear me, Ajay?
Yep, we can hear you. Can you hear me?
Okay. Beautiful. I'm good to go.
Fantastic. Well, Justin, man, I'm excited to talk, man. I know you've been busy, my friend. I know you guys have fourth one on the way, lots of land deals brewing all the time.
Fourth one.
You're just rocking and rolling constantly, dude. I've had you come out as a keynote speaker to the Land Scaling Summit twice. Say that again.
Fourth one is already here.
Oh, it's already here? Dude, what? When did that happen?
2 Saturdays ago.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Well, congratulations, man. That's exciting. That's exciting. You must be very busy and sleeping super well.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I mean, it's been super busy. Honestly, like if for any of the parents out there, like the first baby, you're really helping your wife in every way, shape, and form, right? You're getting up, you're getting the baby out of the bassinet, you're changing the diapers in the middle of the night, and just really being there in solidarity. But then you have 2, right? And then it's like, okay, well, somebody's got to be up and like functional in the morning for the other one. And then you have 3, and then you have 4. So it's like the responsibility for nighttime stuff just drops substantially. Plus, there's not really a ton that I can do to assist a newborn at this stage. I'll hold her, I'll burp her.
Sure.
I'll change a diaper all day, every day, whatever. But
yep,
there's only so much I can do.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. Well, you're a pro, so I can't wait until the hopefully not so distant future where I get to get some good parenting advice from you, pay you for some coaching on that front, man. But let's dive into the biz, man, because we're sitting here in March of 2026, and you and I started in this industry at about the same time, 2020 and 2021. We were both getting pretty heavy into it. And it's changed a ton as we've been in it. Do you want to talk about just like trends you're seeing in the land space today? Just, quick and dirty, like macro level. What are you seeing across your teams and projects? And then I know you coach quite a few people, so you have a good landscape into other people's businesses. What do you see in the landscape right now?
I mean, it's all, everybody knows this. It's always changing. I feel like the direction is it's continually getting harder and harder to find good deals and to scale. One of the things that, everybody kind of starts doing, or at least what I started doing, was scaling really quickly, scaling the team, scaling the marketing, scaling the number of deals, scaling the size of deals, all of those things. And really, I mean, we had a great year last year, and even this year's been decent. But the headache of huge quantities of flips and double closes is just, for me, no longer the juice isn't worth the squeeze. You get to a certain level, and Clay and I have talked about this on the podcast, but once you really get past $1 million, $2 million, somewhere in that range of gross profit from flips, the business becomes pretty unwieldy, at a certain deal size. Scaling the number of transactions just is kind of painful, frankly, right? Yeah. There's that many more things to go wrong. I mean, how many times can you get like at the 11th hour, oh, the title work, something's wrong with the title, and like they didn't find it until the last second. And then you're doing 2 deals a month. That's not that many. Maybe you get 3, 4 a year. You do 30 deals, trying to sell 30 deals in a month, and holy smokes, now it's like 10 different deals that you're running around like a chicken with your head cut off, trying to work with a title company who doesn't know what they're doing or can't figure things out, and coordinating with sellers and buyers, and like it's just becomes chaos. So one of the things we took a kind of conscious effort or conscious decision this year was just to really hone in and scale down the quantity of deals while keeping the quality or the dollar amount higher. So we're doing less deals per month than we were last year, but we're targeting a higher average profit per deal on the flipping side of the business.
Okay, nice, man. Well, let's actually dive into that a little bit before we talk about the development side. since, a lot of the audience is flipping, wholesaling, what does your, I guess, makeup of your team look like right now on the flipping side? And what average, profit per deal are you guys targeting / realizing, whichever one you want to?
Yeah, it's funny because you target. We're targeting 50K plus. That's the kind of target. It's like I'd like to do 50K plus on a deal. In reality, it's lower than that, right? Because
of course,
when you get a deal that has slimmer margins, or you estimate, the sales price too high, and then you get it under contract, and you're like, okay, well, I can still make 20K on this if I just double close it and go through my process. We don't like throw them away, right? And so it tends to bring the average down.
Of course.
So, but right now the team, we got 20 people on the team. So we were at 25 or 26 last year. We kind of downsized a little bit, culled the herd a bit. It sounds pretty impersonal. It was a tough decision to lay people off. There was nobody who was necessarily fired for cause or anything like that. But it's been great and easy in this business to just scale and not really worry about how much money I was spending. So I never had a strict budget, right? We just always had large profits and money was coming in. And so it's like, hey, we can spend more, we can spend more, we can spend more. Yeah. But this year is the first year we really considered, hey, how much money are we spending? And are we getting an incremental increase in net profit for each dollar we're spending?
Yeah.
And so then that kind of forces you into looking at every member of the team and what they're contributing, what their deal flow was, what the gross profit of those deals was, and to make a decision of, hey, you know what, our conversion rate for these people was too low. The amount of money we spent on them versus the amount of profit they produced for the company was, didn't meet some arbitrary benchmark we set. And so we are going to kind of let those people go and maintain our top performers. And if we want to scale again, we got to bring somebody in that is essentially a bar raiser, that'll bring the level of the team on average up above where it is now.
Yeah, that makes sense. So can we drill down just another layer on the 20 on your staff? What's the makeup of that stateside versus overseas? And then could you maybe describe the team and the function a little bit?
Yeah. Yep. 3 full-time US. Okay. And that doesn't include Tera, Courtney, who used to be a part-time on my team, but now has her own consulting company.
Yep.
And so 3 full-time US and the rest overseas. So I've got, let's see, I have 3 Colombian employees, 1 Uruguayan employee, and then the rest are in the Philippines.
Okay, nice. And in terms of function on those, or a lot of that like data outreach, acquisitions, what's that looking like?
Yeah, I mean, the majority of the team, or at least a plurality of the team, is acquisitions. Cold outreach team, so all of your cold outreach channels, texts and cold calling, et cetera. And then a manager for that team. So cold calling or cold outreach team, manager of that team, and then an acquisitions manager and an ops manager who also does acquisitions management, like or sales facing, seller facing, negotiating contracts. You know both of them, Erla and Annalie.
Yep.
Right. And then so that's the acquisition side, and then we have transactions. We have project management, which is two people, underwriter and project manager, also underwriter, but it's kind of the supervisor of that team. And then we have a dispo team, Brian, and then his team. He's got 3 people on staff, and then my assistant, Aaron.
That's great. That's great, man. You guys are, I had the pleasure of working with your team for a lot of last year, and it was really fun getting to learn the leadership you've got and the experience. And, you've had some VAs on your team for like 3 years now, maybe longer.
4. Yeah. No, Erla and Tong, well, Cherry, they're both over 4 years now. Brian's coming up on 4 years.
That's nuts, man. Congratulations. I think that's a big testament to the culture you've built and the leadership that you have on your team. Can we also just talk briefly about like when you have that big of a team doing cold outreach, especially on the SMS and cold calling side? I'm not sure if you have this data ready. I didn't ask you to prepare it, so apologies for putting you on the spot. But do you know roughly like how many leads your team is pushing per marketing channel right now on either a weekly or a monthly basis? Do you have any idea on those numbers?
Oh man, I could pull up Notion and look, but anecdotally, we're in the 50 to 75 leads a week range across all channels. And nice. There's this is a lead generation, and what constitutes a qualified lead it's a challenge, I think, for any business. I'll talk to people who have smaller teams, smaller marketing budgets, who are pushing astronomically larger quantities of leads, but that doesn't necessarily mean the quality is there. So we always are trying to thread that needle between how much work are we creating for the underwriter and for the acquisitions managers with leads that aren't going to yield a contract, and when are we being too conservative and not pushing leads that could be turned into a contract with the right negotiation.
Right.
And so I tend to be a little more conservative and disqualify more deals than letting more through. That's kind of my bent. And my thought is I'd rather spend more time focused on the deals that we think have a higher chance than kind of less time across all deals. So it's something we're always trying to figure out, obviously I want more leads all the time, but on average for the whole team, probably somewhere around 10 to 12, what I would call qualified leads per day.
Okay. That's great, man. So, gross leads, it sounds like you're between 200 to 300, which is pretty on track with what I see a lot of teams that are doing, high 6, low 7 figures, pretty consistently, not including the development deals that you're doing. Right. So that makes a lot of sense. And if you're targeting even higher profit per deal, that'll be pushed up pretty consistently. Can you talk about your qualification? Because I think this is something that, with you being a longtime operator, you've seen all the marketing channels, all the lead quality, right? Could you maybe help some of our newer folks that are tuned in, which I want to give a quick shout out. I see John LeClaire is on here, good friend of both of ours. What's up, John? He said, dream team, love the matching shirts. If you guys are here live with us, let us know in the comments and where you are. I love seeing who's here with us. But Justin, could you speak to lead quality on what you guys have done to hone in that qualification as you've moved up? Yeah.
Yeah. I consider three, there needs to be 3 things that are true for a lead to be actually qualified. One is they have a desire to sell. And that's typically the qualifying factor that almost everybody uses. Even, most folks if they want to sell or they express some interest in being willing to hear an offer or sell, that's most people's qualification criteria. Boom. That becomes a lead that then their lead manager or whomever will further, qualify to decide if it's something that's worth making an offer. So that obviously has to be true. The second, which I think is just as important, is it a piece of land you want to buy? Right? How is the land qualified to purchase? Yep. And you can do that on the data side, right? You can do that on the data side. You can try to scrub out all the pieces of land that have too much wetlands or are landlocked or whatever. But we don't do it on the data side. We typically do it on the call. And the reason is because some of my best deals have been landlocked parcels that we've been able to secure access for, and it's just, there's too many opportunities where you might pull, a lot of times, the data software that you're pulling your data from an owner might own several parcels, right? And it might just take the largest parcel, and that largest parcel might be the back acreage or something. And if that ends up being landlocked, you may discard that if you're running it through certain filters. They may own other. So we just don't really disqualify on data so much. We will take out 80% wetlands and things like that.
Sure.
Probably on the front side using the scrub filters that all the data programs have now, but we're not super picky about it. But so we pull it up, right? We pull it up using a Land Insights link or pull it up on Land ID or whatever when the cold caller's on the call. And if it's a good looking property, slope's not crazy, right? It's in a market we want to buy, which that's obviously done on the data side. We're pulling data out of markets we want to buy in. Then that's the second qualifying criteria. And then the third is price. And this one's the hardest, right? It's not a black and white type of a thing.
Right.
We don't have a set price that we're going to pay for this property. We have ranges. We have the AI generated values that our team is trained to kind of at least understand and see and make a decision based on. But we use price more as a lead flow valve, if you will.
Yeah.
So an example might be you are pushing too many leads, right? And your acquisitions manager and underwriter, they can't keep up. And so it's degrading the quality of negotiations and conversations with actually qualified leads. So you can say, okay, well, when we do our price qualification, instead of saying, hey, if they're asking for anything 120% of potential market value or less, maybe we move it to 100%. If they're asking 100% of market or less, we're going to kick that into the negotiation because we think we might be able to reason with them and get them down to a reasonable price. Yeah. And if you're not pushing enough leads, well, then you might raise that higher and say, okay, well, if they're asking 150% of market price, we're going to give our negotiators a crack at this deal.
Good.
And to keep the lead flow consistent, each day.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, man. It's a funnel, right? So if your funnel's too narrow, open it up, and if it's too wide, close it up. And I think, asking price is a great lever that you can pull to both make that bigger and smaller. I also will add, like, from an asking price perspective, whenever we get those numbers and they are just so far below or just reasonably below like what we think it's worth, I'm going to prioritize hitting that lead a lot harder, 100%. Right? Like,
that's so
if I know there's a deal there, we have the information to hit it, which is nice. So no, man, that's really cool. Out of curiosity, from a comping perspective, because again, you guys are pulling a lot of data and you're hitting a lot of leads. I know you've got some unique pieces on the data side, which we'll talk about with, Tera data here in a little bit. But what are you doing for pricing, both kind of on the front end and then also with how your acquisitions team is handling it when you're looking at 70, 80 leads a week? That can be a ton, right? So can you speak to like comping process or any tips for people that are scaling up their lead flow, or maybe you're seeing it as a bottleneck?
I mean, we don't really do anything different in terms of comping general flips than, the tried and true process, right? There's a lot of, AI tools, and I'm a Land Insights user. And Land Insights has some great AI-based tools and tools for you to select certain comps and kind of hone in, add factors of, this property is worse or better than these other comps by some margin, and make estimations. I mean, we have a standard kind of comping framework that the underwriter goes through. We've attributed some value add or value loss to certain property attributes. Most of it's just though finding similar comps, similar acreage, close, that have sold within a certain period of time. And so we in Notion, we use Notion, it's our main CRM. We have a way for the agents to select comps, and that way our acquisitions manager can go back and easily see what comps were selected, why they were selected, what the price, estimate is based on those comps, adjust as needed while they're on their call. And then that lives, and also obviously we save the Land Insights comping links that we have through the whole process all the way through sales. So sales manager, when we're pricing a contract, property we have under contract to list as either a double close or a buy and sell, we have the acquisitions assumptions already there for the sales agent or the sales manager to look at and decide on listing price.
Sweet, man. That's awesome. Yeah, I think that's all pretty straightforward. We also love Land Insights and their team. If you guys are interested in Land Insights, I'm sure we've got an affiliate link somewhere we can drop here later. And funny enough, in the comments, I see Lindsay Tompkins is on here, who I think is on their team and runs her own land business as well. A couple of cool folks in. Patrick, what's up? Jason Mendoza from Phoenix, what's up? Mark Bruin, what's up, Mark? Ron, good to see you. So we've got a good crowd, almost 20 people in here right now, Justin. I want to take a second and pivot towards...
Shout out to Ron. Ron and I are working on a deal right now.
Oh, sweet, man. Let's go. That's awesome. I want to start talking about the people you work with on the development side, because I know I've sent you a ton of people that have hit me up and I'm like, hey, this is more Justin's wheelhouse than mine. Could you speak to what you guys are doing on the development side? Like the kind of the I don't even know if buy box is a question, because I feel like I've seen you do $4 million entitlement deals. And then I've also seen you just do like some good normal kind of rural subdivides in Alabama where it's a buy for 700, do some property improvements, maybe some utilities, and then turn around and sell that thing for maybe 2x or maybe a little less depending on leverage. So there's a sliding scale there, man. I've seen you do some really cool deals, but the thing that I want to talk about just briefly before you share this is the cool thing about land development is it's such a great way to, like, when we talk scale, at the end of the day, all we're trying to do is make more money, right? Ideally for less effort, especially individual effort. And the cool thing about these value add deals is there's so many dollars across them. You have the ability to pay smart people like engineers, partner with great operators like Justin, pay for property improvements, and raise money so other people can make money in the deal, which is really where you see some really cool efficiencies across some of these deals. Don't get me wrong, I love a good, buy for 30, sell for 80 type deal. I think more realistically is like a buy for 40, sell for 75 in today's market. But that being said, Justin, could you just speak to your development side, man?
Yeah.
What you guys got going on, your buy box, and obviously like people who want to send stuff your way. Tell us what we can send to you.
Yeah, no, of course. So I have an investment firm called Triune Capital Partners. You can check out our website, tryncp.com. We got some AI generated, or not AI generated, like stock photos on there. We need I'm meeting up with some of the partners to go to final plat hearing, and also to go with a bank out to our newest development in Bastrop next week.
Nice.
So maybe we'll get some photos and like replace all these stock images with actual photos of us, meeting with our engineers out on a property, meeting with the bank, whatever. We'll see. But so it's Ben Baker and Trey Vick. I talked about it at your event. And Ben, Ben is someone you introduced to me a long time ago, and has become.
Sounds like that's been a huge relationship for both of you.
Man, he's become one of my greatest friends, and I talk to him more than most people.
That's awesome.
And business partner. It's been fantastic. So we're working on a bunch of multi-million-dollar development deals. Where we're building the infrastructure, building the power, water, obviously doing the entitlement, and then building all of the infrastructure for the deal. And we're playing in this area that's kind of sub-institutional, but it's a lot bigger than what I would consider is reasonable for a single land operator, even with a business as big as mine, like as a flip business, to do. Like I couldn't do these deals alone, if that makes sense. The loans are too big. The amount of money needed to be raised is too much, and there's a lot of complexity to these deals. And so, having a firm with partners that each kind of bring something to the table is more what needs to happen to do these deals. And so, I'll give you kind of our latest deal. Maybe that is. So we're in the middle of we're raising for it right now. We're almost done with the raise. We're pretty much closed. We haven't even can't advertise because it's a 506B. So let me just preface by saying this is not a solicitation for anyone to invest in this deal at all. Please, unless I know you personally, you can't invest anyway. That's just how it is. But we haven't had to really hit the phones because we've just sent the deck to a few folks and have just gotten all
That's awesome, man.
Are lining up.
How big was the raise?
2.7 million is the raise.
Oh wow!
So it's not like a huge raise, but it's pretty big. It's not minuscule, so to speak. So it's a deal in Bastrop, Texas. We're 56 acres that we're splitting into 77 half-acre lots. So we've got about 7,500 linear feet of asphalt road, water line, 8-inch water line through the subdivision, power, obviously. So the power infrastructure costs about $650. It's like 3.5-4 million of development costs.
I was going to say, man, 8-inch water pipe, asphalt, which is still cheaper than concrete, but not cheap, man.
It's not cheap. Most of our roads. So we just finished a road on another development yesterday. 2 days ago. We were supposed to have our final plat hearing yesterday, but the commissioner and the development lead for the county both were like, we can't get out there. Yeah, we got to push you to April. So it's really frustrating. But that was an 8,600 linear feet chip and seal road, which is more typical in kind of more rural areas. You can do chip and seal, but in Bastrop, it's expanding quickly. It's all asphalt, so it's quite a bit more expensive for asphalt. But yeah, so that's a $2.7 million raise, $2.2 million purchase, about 3.5-4 million of total development costs, and then you got all your soft costs, and and the challenge with these big projects like that, at least from a land flipper perspective, I'm jumping around here, but I'm just gonna quick caveat, quick story. Last week I met with a private equity firm. One of my partners knows, and it's a firm called Marble Capital, and they're big in Houston. I mean, they're big across the Sun Belt in terms of an investor. They invest pref equity in large multifamily. Think hundreds of units of multifamily. They've got 2.5 billion of under management. It's a big firm. And so I went with my partner Trey, and we were just talking about these deals because these are really small deals compared to anything that they work on. And they had mentioned via email that they may have non-recourse debt options for these deals because which is important as a developer, because as you exhaust your ability to personally guarantee loans, which happens really quick when you've got $5-10 million of loans you're trying to guarantee, right? The banks will look at you and they'll say, you're crazy. You don't make enough money for me to trust that you can repay the debt on this. You can't afford this type of thing. So you have to switch over at some point to non-recourse debt. And so they had sent an email. We'd sent them the deal. They had sent an email about that. So we went to meet with them and talk about another really big deal I'm working on with Buck. And they were basically, they were just like, hey, honestly, unless it's a $10 to $15 million loan, we can't even really look at it. And
Jeez.
they said, hey, if it's smaller than that, if you can get a pipeline kind of going where we can place 30 million of loans a year, that's a point at which we could start having a conversation.
Okay.
And I'm like, man, wouldn't it be great to get to that? So, that's the goal. Like, let's try to get up to that level. But I say that just to bring it back to perspective, because there's levels to this game, and like even I am playing at, we're playing T-ball still.
Yeah.
I'm playing T-ball.
So what do the numbers look like on that Bastrop deal? It sounds like you're going to be, I'm doing some mental math. Is that going to be, you're going to be all in around 8 million? And then,
a little less than that. So the raise is 2.7. We got about
Okay.
4 million of debt, just over 4 million of bank debt, construction loan, right? Buy it and then draws as we build the infrastructure for the deal. Total sales are right around 12 million for all of the lots.
Okay. Wow.
Right. So we got interest, we got another thing about these like big development deals, they're not the normal deal for your LPs, right?
Right.
And we were talking about a multifamily deal yesterday, right? Texting about it. So a typical deal that most investors get pitched as an LP for typical syndication it's a multifamily deal, right? You're buying this property, you're either building it from the ground up, or you're renovating it, you're increasing the rents, you're improving the cap rate or in some way, and then you're either refinancing it and holding it for cash flow, or you're selling it on the backside. And then that's when your LPs get their money back. So they might get in 6%, 8% pref. If rates are bad, or go up or whatever, then they might get wiped out. If the GP doesn't have a good fixed rate debt, there's all kinds of like nuances there. But one of the big things you get is you get long-term capital gains, right? Because you're holding this asset for a long period of time, and you also get bonus depreciation. But with these land development deals, that is not how it works. So you are a dealer. It's what's called a dealer. And anybody who's done a subdivision and has sold one of their subdivision lots, owner financing, and has done their taxes will know that when you sell a property via owner financing with this land subdivision, you have what's called phantom income. All of the sale price is booked as income, even though you might have only gotten 10%, 20% of the capital, your cost basis of that land back. Right. And because it's inventory that you're selling, the IRS sees that as regular income. So that's one of the things with our investors that we've got to disclose, is that these are not long-term capital gains. We can't get long-term capital gains unless we go to a totally different model. And I could go into that, but I think that's getting too much into the weeds. And so you have to give a little bit better returns, right? You got to get better IRR. You got to get cash back to investors faster. And so we typically are doing a 10% IRR hurdle before any profit split promote kicks in. Okay. And then we're targeting around 30. Right now is about 30% IRR for investors. And the reason why we're able to achieve that is because we're returning capital pretty quick, right? With these land development deals, you do the infrastructure improvements and you start selling lots. Well, when you sell a lot, you have some loan cost basis of your land. You sell the lot and you recover, you get a gross profit. You have to pay off a portion of that loan, but you don't release 100% of the money to pay down the loan. That is technically like the highest profit way to do it, because you minimize your interest costs, but it is not the best way to return capital to your LPs. Right. And so we target 50, 60% of the gross sales price to be paid down to the loan. And we collect the other 50, 60 or 50, 40, whatever percent. And then we start distributing Q3 or beginning of Q4 and month 9 for the project. So that starts to recover capital, helps bring the IRR up, and the equity multiple maybe isn't as good as like a long-term multifamily deal where you might get 2.5. We're in like the 1.7, 1.6, 1.8, depending on the length of the deal, but you're getting your capital way faster, way faster.
Yeah, that's great, man. You said 9 to 12 months typically you're starting to get
give capital back. Yeah.
Wow, that's like pretty aggressive on some of these, because just project managing some of this stuff, especially you said half-acre lots. So are these sewer lines that you're putting through this property?
No sewer on this one. There's no sewer available. We would do sewer if it was available, but half acre is the minimum for septic.
Got it. Okay, that's good to know. I know some parts of Texas are an acre.
For that county, right? It's all different. So don't take that and run it to your county and say, half acre. Some places are like 3 acres, Or
that's why I was surprised when you said a half acre. I was like, oh, wow, are they getting sewer? But that makes a lot more sense. Okay, interesting, man. That's cool. How many of these projects do you have going on at any given time? Because I feel like this is just one of your deals.
Yeah. I mean, we have 4 active right now that are this like this or maybe a tiny bit smaller or a tiny bit bigger.
Yeah. Okay. Cool, man. Cool,
One that's
cool.
way bigger, but that's early on. No deal with Buck.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's fantastic. And we just got a question from somebody. Jason's asking, have you ever done a JV with the seller to avoid as much upfront, get a little less on the backside, but he's got a 73-acre property that sounds like this deal in Comal. I don't know I think that's in Texas City. I'm saying wrong.
Yeah, I mean that's like the dream. I one of my deals right now, I have a JV. We have a JV with the seller. It's the deal with Buck actually, where Buck and I are buying 86 acres resort.
Is this Buck Risby?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh, nice, dude. I love Buck. That's awesome.
Yeah, we got 86 acres adjacent to Purgatory Ski Resort. We're in our conceptual development plan with the county right now, and there's another 45 acres just south that the neighbor who actually lives in the Houston area. I met with them. We went to barbecue and it was great. And they're bringing theirs along because they want theirs developed. They want a home on theirs, and the best way to get it is because to get to building roads is really expensive. Yeah. So the best way for them to get it and get enough money to build their house is to partner with us. We'll build the road. They'll get some of the revenue from some of the lots on their property. They'll get their dream home site. They'll retain the rest of their property in a conservation easement, and then we'll be able to capture the profit from the rest of the loan, the rest of the home sites on their property. So they'll join as a JV. They won't participate in all the phases of our resorts owned, property. They'll only participate in the phases of that are on their property. But yeah, I mean, anytime you can do a joint venture is fantastic. And there's a couple ways to do it. The easiest is probably like a novation agreement. It's not really even a joint venture, but it's a novation agreement where you have a really long contract. You have power of attorney to act on their behalf. You have the ability to invest in the property and file a mechanics lien in the case that they default on the contract. And you just agree on a price per acre that they get when you sell lots. That's probably the cleanest, easiest way to do kind of a joint venture. They retain ownership of it. You don't take ownership of it. You spend money and invest in their property. The value for them is like, hey, it might take a little bit longer, but I can offer you a little bit more money, and I'm paying money to improve your property. So like if I back out or don't perform, like you get all my improvements and I lose all that money. It is a lot of risk for you, right? Because you're going to be spending money on somebody's property that you don't own, but that's a pretty clean way to do a JV. Another is kind of like a really favorable owner financing where you form an entity, they sell the land to that entity. They're a part of that entity. Their land basis is kind of codified in your operating agreement and what they're going to get paid out. And then, the protection for them is they have the land owner financed. And so if the entity defaults, they foreclose, they get their land back. So that's another way to do it. And then another is just like a straight land, contribution to the company you form with them with no owner financing or anything like that. But I find that harder to do. I haven't successfully done that and found a landowner that's like, yeah, I'll contribute my land to this entity that you essentially control, but I have a lot of equity in. No, people don't really want to do that.
Yeah, that's great. And I love that you just broke down a couple of different structures there. Jason, I would tell you, especially as somebody who's in our inner circle, if you've got a lead that you think is a good development prospect, dude, just DM me after this, and I'm happy to connect you with Justin if it's a deal worth looking at and you wanted to JV with somebody like him that's a development monster. No, I'm just kidding, dude. But look, this is stuff that I just think you have to have the right hat, the right partners, the right risk tolerance, the right abilities to raise money. That very few operators in our domain are equipped for, myself included, man. I'm okay doing minor improvements. I can cure title. I can, add access. I can cut a road in and put some gravel down, dude. But you get much past that. We get too far into the weeds playing with utilities and project management and laying out asphalt or concrete. And it's like, this is above my pay grade. Go talk to Justin.
Yeah. I mean, I love these kind of deals. It really, honestly, if it's like less than $1 million deal, you're buying it kind of if the buy price plus improvements are like less than $1 million and a half, then it's kind of like it's almost like it's not even really worth starting a fund. Like let's just put together a group of investors that want to take this deal down and work on it. But once it gets above that, you have to build some serious infrastructure. that's a great. I love working on those types of deals. I really do.
Man.
And we're really generous to partners that bring us deals, frankly.
I agree.
So if you bring us a deal, you will make a lot of money, and you won't have to bring any money. You won't have to raise any money. If you bring money, great. That's great. You'll get to participate, in the equity side of the deal as well, not just the profit on the backside. And so we welcome that. Like you can, and some of our partners, like they're not even bringing their own GP equity, right? We typically do a 20% GP co-invest. So like on this $2.7 million raise, me and the partners are bringing $540,000 to the deal of our own money that we're investing into this deal. And so that money participates alongside the LPs in the deal and earns money. But if you can find money for cheaper than what we're paying, from friends, family, whatever, you could do some sort of arbitrage on that GP equity investment as well and bring your own equity. But we'll split acquisition fees, we'll split development fees. So you will get paid something on the front side. And then, depending on how much work you do, if you just bring us the deal and walk away and you just wait for your profit, then you probably just get it on the backside. But if you're actively involved, which a lot of people want to be because they want to learn and they want to know know how to do these for the future, then you will get paid for it. Yeah, it's awesome. Yeah, it's great.
I love it. I think that's super generous. Jason's asking a clarifying question, and we can connect after this, Jason. But he's asking like, hey, on these complex deals, like what's the best way to bring it to you? I would say, Jason, get as much information as you can from a seller and some idea of, I would always say like verify there's actually a deal there. The big information between a lead and a deal is always like, is there an opportunity for us to make some real money here? If you don't know, that's okay. But the more information you have, meaning like asking price, potential exit values, research you've done on the market, like all that's great.
Yeah.
Justin,
researching
color to that.
Yeah. Like researching subdivision regulation. I mean, AI is your friend. Like you can do so much right now with like these top tier AI models just to at least understand. Right. And I mean, I have learned so much just by using AI and asking questions about these. But you can download the county development regulations, and plug them in with this property and have AI evaluate, like, is this something that we could do? You can figure out, what's the maybe just some deal killers. Water, biggest deal killer of all, like kind of on the fringe rural residential developments. Water's the biggest deal killer. And then road type. What kind of road do you have to build? Typically, if it's asphalt, you've got to force appreciation like 3 to 4 times over the base value. So if you've got 100 acres that's worth $5,000 an acre, and you need to build an asphalt road, you want to see 20 to 25 an acre for the child parcels minimum. An example is the Bastrop deal. Our cost basis on the buy side is $40,000 an acre. Our sales price is about $300,000 an acre, $290 on average per acre. And the deal works. I mean, it works well. It has margin on it. If it was $250 an acre, it'd be a little bit tighter. It could probably still work. We would just obviously make less money as the GP to deliver the right returns to our LP. But if it got really below 200, that's kind of that's really a 5X ish. It would be hard, but it's because there's so much more infrastructure on that deal and the roads are asphalt. It just depends. It depends on the deal. But I would at a minimum plug in the county subdivision regulations, understand what type of road, and make sure there's a market for it. One of the biggest challenges, this is a challenge my team struggles with too, is wanting to subdivide everything and finding these large rural tracts that are surrounded by other large rural tracts and being like, look, we can subdivide this into 10-acre lots and make money. And I'm like, well, there's not a single 10-acre lot for like 10 miles. Like, I don't think people are going to want to buy and build their house here. Like, this is not a good spot to do this type of development. There's got to be some similar product just like it right nearby.
Totally. That's so good. Can I ask kind of like a almost a shiny object question to you, Justin?
Yeah.
I'm sure you consider this, but I see a lot of talk going on right now, especially for our community that's so good at off-market land acquisition. There's so much talk on like modular home placement, off-site construction, modular homes, even some mobile home talk. If you can just move one from one place to another. Have you guys considered any level of going vertical on any of your projects? I know it changes the underwriting and the timeline pretty dramatically, but there's no way this hasn't crossed your mind at least once, right?
Yeah. Oh, it crosses my mind all the time. It's yeah. I mean, yes, we consider it, right? We haven't done any of it. And that's not because we couldn't. I mean, there's not that much more complexity of putting a mobile home and putting septic and what. It's more just like, if we can make our money on the land development and the flip side, then we typically are just want to be in and out.
No, I get it. That makes sense.
And I think, it is a great way to push your margins higher. It just requires a whole nother set of relationships and another skill set. It's much more on the project management side than it is on just like the marketing and flipping and sales side. So it's probably a natural progression. I know Clay has talked about it, like seeing that as kind of the future to be able to add zeros to your deals.
Totally. I think it also just opens up the door to bankability. Like you talk about your private equity friends that need a loan of at least 30 million. And all of a sudden you add a development vertical layer on top of it. And you ironically become more bankable, not less, I think, because it's an asset class they're more familiar with. There's a ton more risk, and more timeline equals more risk, and your holding costs change. So like there's, again, a lot of variables, project management, permits. I get it. It's one of those things, man. It's like, man, you're making all these lots. Why not just throw a house on top and make an extra $100,000 per lot, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's a good question. There's a ton of risk there, but you said it. Like one of the things that makes it really easy to raise money, in my opinion, for these development type deals is when we talk about the risks of the deal. We can say to an investor, our land is 50% of the cost basis, or 70%, or in one deal we just did 90% of the cost basis of this deal. So like our incremental cost of improvements is really small compared to some sort of build to rent or ground up multifamily or whatever. So if you think about it, like that land has some inherent minimum value. We think it's greater than what we're paying for it in almost all cases, but it's only going to drop so far. So your downside risk is very limited. Like you are limited on your downside risk to the basis of the land minus any expenses you had on that development. Whereas, you have a big giant multifamily construction, your land basis may only be 5%, 10% of the total value of the construction.
Right.
And if something happens where, let's say the GP can't meet the loan covenants or some crazy thing like that you have no control over, and the bank defaults on their loan or defaults and forecloses on their loan and takes it back, like you might be left with nothing. You're left with a partially finished building with loans that are way in excess of the value of the property. Like your equity is gone. And that doesn't happen all that often. And obviously you wouldn't invest in one that would anyway, right? Because you're also investors, but there's really not a risk of that happening with us.
Yeah, I agree.
With these types of deals.
That makes a lot of sense, man. And I think it's one of those things too of like you just stick with the fundamentals and they won't fail you, right? Like if my cost basis on a deal is half of what the market value is today, even God forbid some catastrophic correction, like your basis is still so safe, right? So it just affords you the luxury to, I think, sleep well at night when you understand the fundamentals, right? It's that long-term view of I want to limit my downside rather than maximize my upside. I think that's a theme that I've come back to over and over again the longer I'm a real estate investor. Is the biggest thing I've seen knock people out of real estate is they chase the upside more than limiting downside. And I've seen some people also hit big. So those are the stories that make you want to chase, right? Oh, this guy made a $3 million rip on one big subdivide deal all by himself, and he raised some private money and did really well. It's like, okay, I mean, that's a great story, man. That what you don't hear is all the stories of the guys that you and I knew in 2022 that over leveraged and did some bad deals or, risked it on thin deals. And now they're selling life insurance or they're, like in another industry, businesses, doing something else.
And this is a quick aside because I literally just got sent a deal that is like what you just said.
Okay.
It's a huge deal. 287 acres near Austin.
Okay.
It's actually like a entitled subdivision, like some roads have been built, all kinds of stuff.
Sure.
And I was looking at it, and it got appraised by CRB for 40 million.
Sure.
The sellers are looking for 25 million. And so I don't have time to like dive in. They have like 100 documents, whatever. I don't have time to dive into everything. But I have built out some crazy like Claude skills and all kinds of stuff. So I'm plugging everything into my AI and I'm having it evaluate this deal in a bunch of different ways, building a pro forma, trying to figure out like at what point is this deal even worth looking at. And essentially where they're at is this investor raised about 17 million in equity from investors or this GP rather. And raised 17 million in equity, and then also has about 18 million in loans against this property.
Oh, wow.
And they had a bunch of builder contracts. 6 different major builders were interested in buying this property for certain amounts of money, and they all fell out, every one of them, over the last like 3, 4, or 5 years. And so now they're in default on their loan. The bank's about to foreclose. They're trying to basically just like sell it, for scraps. Their investors will take a loss, but get out and pay the bank back. And it's just rough. It looks like, and so after an analysis, making some conservative assumptions, I think the buy price is somewhere in the 12 to 13 million range, which has the investors and partners losing 100% of their equity and the bank taking a 30-40% haircut on the loan short sale. And so like, they're never going to accept it. I just sent an email back to, kind of describing what I thought was a reasonable entry price, because you think about it from, your perspective as your own GP is like, well, I have to be able to guarantee I'm going to give really good returns. And to my investors, I have to manage my risk, and I have to make sure this is, I can defend why this project didn't sell in the past and why we're the right people to do it. And the only way to do that is to get the cost so low that it almost doesn't make sense not to do the deal. Right.
Yeah. Yeah, no, you're 100% right. I think I always tell my team, look, like the facts are the facts and the underwriting is the underwriting. Like, people can get offended all day long, but like, I'm going to pick the assumptions that I'm going to make, and I'm going to give you the numbers based on those assumptions, right? I think too, man, when you look at bigger projects like that, like I try to not talk about macroeconomic events too often, because most of our audience is so focused on, when you're just arbitraging stuff in a 3 to 6 month timeline, most macroeconomic events don't really like have a huge impact on what we do. They can if it's like a catastrophic thing. You get a COVID-19 type event, you get an interest rate, crazy hike in a short time frame event. Most recently, I think everybody's paying attention to what's going on in the Middle East right now and how that's affecting oil, which is it's just fear, right? You see fear. We've seen interest rates go up about 70 basis points in a pretty quick timeline, maybe a little less than that, but it's pretty aggressive. And so as I look at, I mentioned to you going vertical, I've got a good contact in like offsite modular. I'm like, man, I don't know that the margins are protected in that way right now, because I don't know what's going to happen in the next 12 months. And I'd be kind of scared taking down a $12 million development deal like this with assumptions that people are going to be able to afford. Now, you said 12 on 25. So I think at that number, you're probably protecting your basis just based on land fundamentals, right? And that's where, dude, if I stick to cost basis fundamentals, I feel really good about this. Any other upside assumptions assume outside variables that I can't control. So anyways, I don't want to get too deep in this, man, because I think people stop caring, but
probably.
Yeah. I think it just, when you start playing with bigger dollars and bigger projects, it just matters more, So anyways, let's transition, man, because I want to make sure,
let's
honor your time.
Tera.
What was that?
Let's transition Tera.
Yeah. I want to talk about data, because dude, you've done some really interesting stuff on that side with you and your partners, between both Tera Data Consulting and SolidSkip, right? I think as you're pulling big amounts of data, right, tens of thousands of records every single month, if not more, dude, there's just such a process there that I think you guys have done an awesome job outsourcing for people that hate running it internally or have had data VAs churn, or everything that goes on there. Can you take a second and talk about cost and quality of data and like the problem you guys are solving with both SolidSkip and Tera Data Consulting?
Yeah, for sure. So I mean, like any business owner, as I scaled, I hired people to do certain things for me, and one of the first ones was hiring Courtney Kinney, who's Skylar is one of my oldest friends. Our dads were roommates in college. His wife is Courtney. And she's a data scientist by degree.
That's awesome.
And so I knew she had some spare capacity working at her kind of W-2 job. And so I hired her part-time to run all of like the data exports, pricing from mailers, and getting like the data ready to go into our CRM. And that was back in 2022. And so over the last 3-4 years, we've changed a ton, we've scaled a ton. And so she's developed basically all of our like data handling, data formatting, market research, pricing tasks herself. And so last year she started Tera Data Consulting, and that company basically takes all of your data marketing, getting it ready for the CRM needs, and they handle it for you. And there's a ton of stuff they do. I'm like a terrible salesman for them, because maybe the best sales pitch here is like, I don't have to worry about it. Like, I don't have to think about it. right? There's so many other things I need to think about, and where we're going to market, and how that marketing, making sure that marketing's there, ready to go, and tracking KPIs with that marketing, and getting things adjusted when there's issues immediately. Like, I don't worry or stress about that because Tera Data Consulting is handling all that for me. And let's see if there's any other kind of points, I guess.
I think Justin, if I can drill down just a little bit, man, like the land investor that really benefits. So there's kind of two things we're talking about here with Tera Data Consulting, guys. This is basically like done for you data management, right? So it's making sure if you're struggling with your marketing going out consistently, pulling big lists, making sure you can keep your teams fed with data, because it's just monstrous amounts of data. If you're both texting and cold calling, the data management is actually a lot of work. And so he's taken Courtney's expertise in data science and basically made this a product that, if I remember right, is like similarly priced to if you had your own VA you were managing in-house. I don't want to speak for your pricing, but I think it sells itself when you dive into it. So if you're somebody that's sick of the data piece, or don't quite get out the amount of marketing you should be, this is a great way to outsource it with somebody that's actually running the business. On the skip tracing side with Solid Skip, man, will you speak to, I guess, too, like
let me park on,
please, go ahead
for a moment, and then we'll jump to Solid Skip. So kind of like some of the, like, Courtney has worked with many different land investors at this point, and so one of the advantages is she sees how a bunch of different teams are running their marketing, right? She started with mine and how my business scaled, but since then she's worked with dozens of other clients and sees kind of best practices across the board. So if you're like kind of a solo, you've only been working and doing data one way your whole business, there's probably some things that you're lacking that you just don't even know you're lacking, right? And that's one of the things that Tera Data Consulting can help with. They have a broader perspective on what's working, what's inefficient, and what people are missing. And a big part of what they do when they onboard a client is reviewing how your marketing is set up, identifying any gaps that you might have, and then actually restructuring it. And so they can help with campaign structure and cadence, CRM organization, pipeline flow, how data is being used or not used, where you're wasting money, time on certain data that you're marketing to and not getting results, but by doing an analysis of the results of all of your data. A lot of times you just don't know what you're missing because you've only seen your own operation, right? So that's kind of the big thing with Tera. And no, Solid Skip. So Solid Skip was almost built out of necessity, right? When you are running a ton of marketing, if you're texting at any volume, you are skip tracing a lot, period. And the reason why you're skip tracing a lot is because you need a ton of data, right? You need a ton of data. You need to send a lot of text, and the data that you skip trace, you can't even text at all, right? It gets like scrubbed out. So it's a ton, and it's expensive. So when I started with this business, and I know when you started with this business, we all used direct skip, right? Yeah. Direct skip was the way to go.
6 cents record.
Like 11 if you don't do it. So I would always do the prepaid plan. I'd spend $5,000. I'd buy 100,000 records. I'd use it up in like a month, and then I'd spend it. I was just spending so much money on skip tracing. And there had to be a better, cheaper way. And so one of the things we started using, kind of buying really high bulk subscription plans for ourselves. And that reduced the cost astronomically. And then I was like, man, how do we get even lower costs? Well, we buy more skips. I don't need that many skips. How many skips does one person need? I don't need 20 million skips a year. Like, that's a lot, right? But if you buy that many, you can get really, really good pricing. And so that's the genesis of Solid Skip, is that we are by kind of taking a bunch of skip volume and taking it under one umbrella, we're able to reduce the cost of skipping astronomically. And so I was looking out there and trying to figure out, hey, what are people paying for skips? Direct skip, you're paying 5+ cents. Maybe you can talk them into a bulk package for 4 or 3 if you're buying way more, but it's still really expensive. You've got all these other skip providers. You look at PropStream, it's like 12 cents. You try to do it in Launch Control, or you try to do it in Smarter Contact. God forbid you're doing it there, guys. If you are, please give Solid Skip a call. We will reduce your cost by literally 10 times. And so we're able to offer really high quality skip tracing data from the provider that 99% of people are using for bulk at incredibly low margins for us, but it's a volume game. We're able to, that's really the pitch. So you can check out the website, solidskip.com. Me and my partner Skylar own it, veteran owned company. We have some like monthly subscription tiers that are start at basically 2 cents per skip and then go all the way down to not 2 cents. Sorry. Yeah. Hold on. Yeah. 2 cents per skip and go all the way down to like 1 point something cents per skip.
Wow. Justin, could you speak to the quality? We got a question. Could you speak to the quality of solid skip compared to like direct skip or Versium? I feel like is what a lot of people are using.
Let's just say it's equivalent quality to Versium.
Okay, equivalent quality to Versium. That makes sense. Sweet.
Absolutely no worse than. So the thing with direct skip is you get a bunch of different pieces of data, right? You pay that 5 cents, but you're getting more than just phone numbers, right? You're getting relatives, you're getting all kinds of things. The thing is, like, we're not using that stuff. So like, why are we paying so much more for all this extra stuff, right? With Versium, you're getting the challenge with Versium and for most people is that in order to get low skip rates, you have to buy higher and higher bulk packages. And they might let you do quarterly pricing, but typically it's a one-time annual charge for a large package. So you might shell over $10,000 or whatever for the whole year. And that's great. You've got a certain number of skip credits. And then when you go over that, you're billed at that same rate, which is great. And you can upgrade, et cetera. But you got to pay 10 grand up front. Yeah. Versium is, with solid skip, we're non-committal, month to month. We want people to kind of, tell us and forecast because that helps us decide how many skips we're going to have in bulk. If somebody were to say, oh yeah, I want to sign up and then just like drop next month, that would be a challenge, but it's part of, we plan for that type of stuff, but it's a monthly fee. Like you pay for this month, you get your skips. If you don't want to pay next month, cool. Don't pay. Right. And you won't get skips. So it's a lot more flexibility. There's a ton more flexibility with what we do. There's no rigid package. I don't know if you guys have ever paid, 10 grand for a software. I have. And then not used it, not wanted to use it anymore. Like you use it for a month or two and you're like, man, this just doesn't work the way I wanted it to. You can't cancel it. Like you already paid. You signed a contract. They make you all sign a contract at the beginning. So you're kind of just SOL.
Boxed in. Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Solid skip's built around flexibility. You only pay for the data that comes back as a match and only for the types of data you choose. That's great, you can be intentional too. If you're cold calling, right, you can only get only phone numbers. You can do only emails if you want email campaigns. It's a credit-based system, so you have a certain number of credits. You can use them all, and no large upfront commitment.
That's fantastic. Well, Justin, this is so good, man. I feel like we've like kind of plugged like 4 different things at this point, which is great. It's because, man, you've got such a wide range because you're somebody operating the business and you literally create these solutions out of necessity in your own business and then are kind enough to make them available to everybody else and just take on extra headaches in your already very busy life just to serve the people here, which I love about you, man. So in terms of how people can reach out, we'll get all the links and drop them in here so that people can find them a little bit later. But can you give us, number one, contact info if people want to either, learn from you? I know you used to do some coaching. I don't know if you're still doing coaching.
Yeah, I mean, I think I have one person that I'm meeting with regularly now. But okay. When your attention gets drawn in as many directions as mine,
I get it, man.
Honestly, like I mean, you know how it is. Like when you're coaching people, like you want to offer the best, right? The best 100%. Of yourself. Like, and if I can't do that, then I just can't take on coaching clients. So I'm not taking on anybody right now. I mean, I would consider, but if somebody was really, really, really wanting to do it, but I typically refer people to Clay for like business coaching because he's got a good thing going on.
Yep. Clay is awesome, man. We also love sending people over to the Landman himself. So good stuff there. Then reach out to Justin, guys, if you have development deals. If you want done for you data services, Tera data consulting, solid skip for skip tracing. Justin, can you plug any contact info you want to share for people to hit you up? And then I think on the other two, just websites.
Yeah, I go to solidskip.com, teradataconsulting.com. I still have a website. It's justinpiche.com. And if you go on there, it talks about coaching. I'm not going to coach you right now, but I will meet with you. I mean, I meet with people all the time. People book. Awesome. There's a Notion calendar like scheduling thing there. And I'm like 90% of the time, like perfectly on time. And then there's that 10% I'm working deep on something and I just totally missed the meeting. But I'll reschedule with you immediately. I'll apologize profusely and reschedule with you immediately, which it's embarrassing that that's happened more than once. But I love talking to people about deals. If you got a big deal, honestly, if you got a big deal and you're not quite sure what to do with it, I'm happy to take a look. It doesn't cost you anything, frankly. Like I give people free advice all the time. But I'd love to do a deal with somebody here on this call.
Yeah, I love it, man. Guys, I can't say enough good words about Justin. I've known this guy now for I think 4 years, and
Yeah, it's been a while.
I have heard like, yeah, it's crazy. It's nothing but, you know, good words. Like I've never heard anyone say anything bad about you. I don't think there's anything to say that would be bad about you. And if somebody did, I'd probably punch him in the mouth because, dude, I freaking love you, brother. And it's been an honor to get to be your friend all these years. So never be afraid to reach out to me if you ever need anything, man, because I'm always here for you. Any last
you know I will.
or anything before we close out of here?
No, but thanks for giving me the opportunity to just talk about some of these things that we're working on. I think, you know, it's one thing to come on and like just promote yourself, but like the reason why I'm doing it is because I honestly wish these services exist. Like I wish I knew who to bring big deals to when I was starting. I wish I knew how cheap I could get skip tracing and have somebody do it for me. And like these are things I wish I had when I was scaling my business. And so we have them, and I'd love for people to try them out, and if they're interested.
100%, dude. You are class act, my friend. I appreciate you, Justin. Thanks for coming on, man. Appreciate your time and wisdom today.
Yes, sir. Thank you, everybody, for joining.
Yeah, thanks, guys. See you on the next one.